The human veteran knelt in the dirt beside the broken wagon wheel, his calloused hands assessing the damage with practiced efficiency. When he noticed the orc girl watching him from the tree line with eyes that burned like amber coals in the fading afternoon light, Owen Sawyer did not reach for the sword propped against the wagon bed, did not even flinch, just met her gaze with the same steady calm he had cultivated through 10 years of war and 3 years of trying to forget it. She stepped into the clearing with deliberate slowness, her green skin dappled by shadows, small tusks visible as her lip curled into something between a snarl and a sneer. "You are alone," she said, her voice rough as gravel but oddly musical beneath the harshness. "Foolish." Owen straightened slowly, wiping grease from his hands onto his worn leather apron. "Reckon I am. Wagon threw a wheel about 2 miles back. Been working on getting it fixed before nightfall." The orc girl circled him like a wolf assessing prey, her muscular frame moving with predatory grace. She wore simple leather armor, scarred and mended in places, and carried a short axe at her hip. Her black hair was bound in a thick braid that fell past her shoulders, decorated with small bones and copper rings. Owen noticed the way she favored her left side, the careful way she moved that spoke of an injury not quite healed. "You do not run," she observed, stopping about 10 feet away. "You do not draw your weapon. Why? Running seems like a good way to get hurt," Owen said evenly. "And I have been watching you limp for the past minute. Figure if you wanted me dead, you would have tried already, and I would rather not fight someone who is already injured." Her eyes flashed with something dangerous. "You think I am weak because I am injured. You think you could defeat me." "Did not say that." Owen turned back to the wagon wheel, examining the cracked hub. "Just said I would rather not fight. There is a difference." She moved closer, quick as a striking snake, her hand on the axe handle. "You speak to me without fear, without respect. You think because you are human, because your kind won this land, that I am no threat to you." Owen looked up at her, really looked, and saw past the aggressive posture to the tight lines of pain around her eyes, the way her breathing came slightly labored, the dried blood on her side partially hidden by the leather armor. "I think you are injured and probably hungry, and I think whatever brought you to watch a lone human fix a wagon wheel in the middle of nowhere probably was not something good." For a long moment, she simply stared at him, her expression unreadable. Then she laughed, a harsh bark of sound. "You are strange. I was told humans are cowards who cower or fight like cornered rats. You do neither." "Some do. I am not them." Owen pulled a waterskin from the wagon and held it out to her. "You look like you could use this." She stared at the offered waterskin as if it might be a serpent. "Why would you offer water to an orc? Because you look thirsty." Owen kept his arm extended, patient. "And because kindness costs me nothing. Kindness." She spat the word like a curse. "Kindness is weakness. It is what the strong offer the weak to keep them controlled. If that is what you think, then do not take it." Owen set the waterskin on the wagon bed within her reach and returned to the wheel. "But the offer stands." He could feel her watching him as he worked, the weight of her gaze heavy with suspicion and something else he could not quite name. Minutes passed in silence, broken only by the sound of his tools and the distant calls of evening birds. Then he heard her move, heard the soft sound of the waterskin being lifted, the quiet swallows as she drank. "What is your name, human?" she asked finally. "Owen Sawyer. And you?" Another long pause. "Griaza." "Well, Griaza, I have got bread and dried meat in the wagon if you are hungry. Going to be dark soon, and I will not have this wheel fixed until morning. I am going to make camp here for the night. You would share food with me." "Make camp while an orc watches you sleep." Her voice dripped with disbelief. "You truly are a fool." Owen shrugged, pulling out his bedroll and supplies. Maybe, but I figure you would have killed me or robbed me already if that was your plan. Besides, looks like you need help more than I need to be suspicious. Griaza's hand flew to her injured side instinctively, then she scowled. I need nothing from humans. Sure. Owen started building a small fire, gathering dry wood from the area. That is why you have been standing there for the past 10 minutes instead of leaving, she bristled, tusks baring slightly. I stay to make sure you are not a threat to my territory. Your territory? Owen glanced at her, one eyebrow raised. Thought this land was claimed by Baron Merrick about 5 years back. The humans claim many things. That does not make them true. But there was something hollow in her voice, some edge of loss that made Owen pause. He did not push. Instead, he got the fire going and started preparing a simple meal, moving with the efficient economy of someone who had cooked countless meals on countless campaigns. He pulled out a small pot, filled it with water from his supply, added dried vegetables and strips of salted pork, set it over the fire to simmer. The smell filled the clearing, rich and savory, and he heard Griaza's stomach growl audibly. When did you last eat? He asked quietly. That is not your concern. 3 days. 4. I said it is not your concern. She snapped the words, but there was desperation beneath the anger. Owen ladled stew into a wooden bowl and set it on a flat stone between them, along with a chunk of bread. Well, I made too much. Seems wasteful to let it go bad. Griaza stared at the food, her entire body tense with conflict. Pride warred with hunger in her expression, and hunger was clearly winning. Why do you do this? Do what? This? She gestured sharply at the food, at him, at everything. Offer water, offer food, act as if I am not. She stopped abruptly. Not what? Owen asked gently. Not what I am, not orc, not monster. The words came out bitter and raw. Your kind killed my clan, drove us from our lands, burned our homes. And you sit here offering me stew as if we are neighbors meeting on a road. Owen was quiet for a long moment, stirring his own bowl. I was at the Battle of Thornridge Pass. I was there when the Ironheart clan made their stand against the Baron's forces. I saw what happened. I saw what we did. He looked up at her, his eyes dark with old pain. I cannot change what happened. I cannot bring back your people, but I can offer a bowl of stew to someone who needs it. Maybe that does not matter. Maybe it is just making myself feel better, but it is what I can do. Griaza's hand trembled slightly as she reached for the bowl. She ate slowly at first, then faster, barely pausing to breathe. Owen refilled it without comment, and she devoured that too. When she finally stopped, there were tears tracking through the grime on her face, though she wiped them away fiercely. You were at Thornridge, she said, her voice thick. You fought against us. I did. Did you kill any of my people? I do not know. Probably. Owen met her eyes steadily. I was a soldier. I followed orders. I did what I was told was necessary to protect human settlements from orc raids. I believed what I was taught about your kind. It was not until I saw the survivors, the children, the elders who had not even fought, that I started questioning. That is when I left the army, came out here to farm, to be away from it all. And now you feed one of those savage orcs you were taught to kill. Griaza's laugh was bleak. Do you think this makes you good? Do you think this erases what you did? No, Owen said simply. It does not. Nothing can. But I can be better than I was. I can try to see people instead of monsters, that is all. She stood abruptly, swaying slightly. I should kill you. I should take your supplies and your wagon and leave you here. You could try. Owen remained seated, calm, but I think you are smarter than that. You are hurt, probably have infected wounds from the look of you, and you need rest more than you need revenge. You know nothing about what I need. I know you have been surviving alone in these woods for at least a season, probably longer. I know you are running from something or someone. I know you are in pain and exhausted and scared, even if you would cut out your own tongue before admitting it. Owen stood slowly, keeping his movements non-threatening. I've got medical supplies in the wagon. Let me look at that wound. No. But the word lacked conviction. Griaza, if that is infected, it will kill you, slowly and painfully. You know that. Better dead than accepting help from a human who slaughtered my clan. Maybe. Owen pulled out his medical kit, a well-worn leather case that had seen heavy use. Or maybe living and getting strong enough to do whatever it is you need to do next is better. Up to you. She stood there, visibly shaking with the effort of holding herself upright, pride and pragmatism locked in desperate battle. Finally, with a sound that was almost a sob, she lowered herself to sit by the fire. I will kill you if you try anything, she warned. Understood. Owen moved to her side, waiting for permission. She nodded once, jerky, and lifted the edge of her leather armor. The wound was bad, a deep gash along her ribs that had been crudely stitched and was clearly infected. Owen worked carefully, cleaning it with boiled water and sharp-smelling alcohol that made Griaza hiss through her teeth. She did not cry out, did not flinch away, just gripped her axe handle so hard her knuckles paled beneath the green skin. This is going to hurt worse, Owen warned, preparing a poultice of herbs he had learned about from an old field medic. Just do it. He did, as gently as he could, and this time she did make a sound, a low growl of pain that raised the hairs on the back of his neck. But she held still, let him work, let him bind the wound with clean cloth. You need to rest, Owen said when he finished. That needs time to heal properly. I cannot stay here. Others will come looking. Others? Your clan, Griaza laughed bitterly. I have no clan. They cast me out for refusing to raid human settlements, said I was weak, corrupted by mercy. No, I mean the Baron's hunters. They have been tracking me for weeks. I killed 2 of his soldiers when they tried to capture me. Capture you? Why? The Baron is collecting orcs, putting them in cages, making them fight for entertainment, or working them to death in his mines. He wants to be sure no orcs remain free in his territory. She looked away. I will not be caged. Owen absorbed this information with a growing sense of cold anger. How many hunters? 4. Maybe 5 by now. They are good, persistent. I have been leading them in circles, but I am slowing down. The wound happened 3 days ago when I had to fight off a wolf. I am almost out of places to run. Then stop running. Owen met her startled gaze. Stay here tonight. Rest. Tomorrow I will help you. Help me. Why would you risk yourself for an orc? Because it is the right thing to do. Because what the Baron is doing is evil. And because you deserve better than being hunted like an animal. Owen stoked the fire, settling in for the night. Get some sleep, Griaza. I will keep watch. I do not trust you. Smart. But you are dead on your feet, and that wound will not heal without rest. So either trust me a little or keep watching me with those suspicious eyes until you pass out. Either way, I am keeping watch tonight. For a long time, Griaza sat rigid, clearly fighting exhaustion. But eventually her eyes began to droop, her body sagging with weariness. She lay down on the opposite side of the fire from Owen, her axe clutched to her chest, and within minutes her breathing deepened into sleep. Owen watched her through the night, keeping the fire fed, listening for any sounds of approach. She slept restlessly, muttering sometimes in a language he did not know, crying out once with what sounded like fear. He did not approach, did not try to wake her, just kept his vigil until dawn began to paint the eastern sky with pale gold. She woke with a start as the sun rose, immediately on her feet with axe in hand, looking wildly around. Then she saw Owen still sitting by the fire, looking tired but alert, and slowly lowered her weapon. You actually stood watch, she said, wonder and confusion mixing in her voice. Said I would. Owen stretched, joints popping. How is the wound? She touched it gingerly. Better, still hurts, but the fever feeling is less. Good. The infection was not too deep. Keep it clean and it should heal. Owen started making breakfast, more of the stew and some flatbread he cooked on a stone beside the fire. We need to talk about those hunters. There is nothing to talk about. I will leave, continue running. You will fix your wagon and go back to whatever life you were living. Pretend this never happened. That is not going to work. You said yourself you are out of places to run, and they are going to keep coming. Owen handed her food and she took it less reluctantly this time. But I know these woods. I know places they would not think to look. Places where you could rest properly, heal completely. Why would you know such places? Because I was hired by the Baron once to scout this territory, before I knew what kind of man he was, before I learned what he was really doing. Owen took a bite of bread, choosing his words carefully. There is a cave system about 3 miles north of here. Hidden entrance, multiple exits, fresh water source. It is defensible and safe. I could take you there. Griaza shook her head. And then you would go straight to the hunters and tell them where I am. Collect whatever bounty the Baron has offered. There is no bounty. The Baron wants you captured alive, which means he is paying his men's salaries, not offering rewards. He wants to keep this quiet. Owen looked at her seriously. And I am not going to turn you in. I am offering to help. Why should I believe you? Because I had all night to kill you or tie you up or do whatever I wanted, and instead I kept you safe and let you rest. Owen stood, moving to the wagon. Look, I understand you do not trust me. You have got no reason to. But you have got even less reason to think you will survive another week on your own with those hunters closing in. Let me help. If nothing else, let me get you to safety before I go on my way. Then you can hate me from a comfortable hiding spot instead of a shallow grave. She was quiet for a long time, eating slowly, watching him. You are very strange, Owen Sawyer. I have met many humans. Most wanted to kill me on sight. Some wanted to use me. None have ever simply offered help with nothing expected in return. Then you have met the wrong humans. Perhaps. She stood, testing her weight, moving carefully. These caves, how far did you say? 3 miles northeast. We could make it by midday if we move slow. And your wagon, I will come back for it. Hide it in the brush, fix the wheel when I return, it will keep. Owen started gathering supplies, filling a pack with food, medical supplies, water. What matters right now is getting you somewhere safe. Griaza watched him work, her expression cycling through suspicion, confusion, and something that might have been hope. You would abandon your wagon, your supplies, to help an orc you just met. The wagon is not going anywhere. You might if we do not move now. Owen shouldered the pack. Ready? She tested her axe, her movements still careful but stronger than the night before. I should not trust you. Probably not. I do not even like you. That is fair. But I am going to follow you anyway because I have no better options. She moved to stand beside him. If this is a trap, I will kill you before they take me. You understand, completely. Owen started walking, picking a path through the trees that avoided obvious trails. Try to keep up. They moved through the forest in tense silence, Owen leading and Griaza following several paces behind, never quite letting her guard down. He kept the pace manageable, stopping periodically to let her rest though she never asked for it. Around mid-morning they heard voices in the distance, men calling to each other, and Griaza tensed like a coiled spring. Owen held up a hand, listening. Then he motioned her to follow and led her down into a dry creek bed, moving quickly but quietly over the smooth stones. They followed it for a half-mile before climbing out into a thick stand of pine trees. The voices faded behind them. That was the hunters, Griaza whispered, her face pale. I know. They are spreading out, making a search pattern, but they are moving west and we are going northeast. We should be clear. Owen paused, pulling out the waterskin and offering it to her. How are you holding up? I am fine. But sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cool morning air. We are almost there. Another mile. Owen waited while she drank, noting the way her hand trembled slightly. You are doing well. I do not need your encouragement. Did not say you did, just stating a fact. Owen started walking again. Most people with an infected wound would not have made it this far. Most people are weak. You keep using that word, weak, as if it is the worst thing a person can be. Owen glanced back at her. But refusing help when you need it, running yourself into the ground rather than accepting kindness, dying alone rather than admitting vulnerability. That does not seem strong to me. That seems like pride, which is just another kind of weakness. Griaza stopped walking. You know nothing about strength. You know nothing about what it means to be orc, to be part of a warrior culture where weakness means death, where mercy is seen as betrayal. You are right. I do not know what that is like. Owen turned to face her fully. But I do know what it is like to be part of a culture that teaches you some people are not really people. That teaches you some lives do not matter. I know what it is like to realize everything you were taught was wrong, and to have to rebuild yourself from nothing. So maybe I do not understand your specific pain, but I understand pain. And I understand that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is let someone help you. They stared at each other, and Owen watched emotions flicker across Griaza's face too quickly to name. Finally, she looked away. The caves, she said roughly. How much farther? Not far. Owen led her through a section of forest so thick with undergrowth that they had to push through it bodily, branches catching at clothes and scratching exposed skin. Then suddenly the ground dropped away, revealing a ravine hidden by the foliage. At the bottom, partially obscured by hanging vines, was a dark opening in the rock face. Owen climbed down carefully, helping Griaza when she needed it, though she scowled at his offered hand. The cave entrance was narrow but opened into a larger chamber once inside. Sunlight filtered through cracks in the ceiling, illuminating a space about 20 feet across with a high roof. In one corner, water trickled down the rock face into a clear pool. This is amazing, Griaza said quietly, her voice echoing slightly. It gets better. Come on. Owen lit a torch he had brought and led her deeper into the cave system. He showed her multiple chambers, each with different advantages. One had natural ventilation perfect for a fire. Another had several exits that led to different parts of the forest. A third was small and defensible, easy to hide in if someone came looking. How do you know about this place? Griaza asked, running her hand along the smooth stone walls. Found it years ago when I was scouting for the Baron. Never told him about it. Something made me keep it secret, like I knew I might need it someday. Owen set down his pack in the main chamber. I have been bringing supplies here gradually over the past year. There is food, water, medical supplies, even some weapons. Enough for someone to survive comfortably for several months. Why would you do that? Owen was quiet for a moment. Because I knew eventually I might need to disappear, or help someone else disappear. The Baron, he is not a good man. He has been getting worse, more paranoid, more cruel. People who cross him tend to vanish. I wanted a backup plan. Griaza sat down slowly on a natural stone bench, looking around the cave with something like wonder. So you prepared a safe house in case you needed to flee, and now you are giving it to an orc. Seems like the right use for it. You are insane, you realize that? Owen smiled slightly. I have been told that before. For the first time, Griaza smiled back, just a small quirk of her lips that softened her whole face. Thank you, Owen Sawyer. I do not understand you, but thank you. You are welcome. Owen started unpacking supplies. Now, let me check that wound again and get you properly settled. You need to rest for real now, not that half-sleep you managed last night. This time she did not protest, just let him examine the wound, which was already looking better. The redness had faded slightly, the angry heat of infection diminishing. Owen cleaned it again, applied fresh poultice, and rebandaged it with supplies from his hidden cache. You will need to change the bandages twice a day and keep applying the poultice, he instructed. I left enough supplies that you should be fine for a few weeks at least. Where are you going? Back to my wagon. I need to fix it and get on with my business. I've got crops that need tending, farm that needs running. Owen shouldered his now lighter pack. But I will come back in a few days, bring more supplies, check on how you are healing. You do not need to do that, I know, but I will anyway. Owen moved toward the cave entrance, then paused. Griaza, stay here at least a week. Let yourself heal properly. The hunters will move on eventually. The Baron will not waste resources searching forever. And if they do not move on, if they keep searching, then we will figure something else out, but one problem at a time. Owen looked back at her, this strange orc woman who had somehow become someone he felt responsible for. Rest. Heal. Be safe. Owen. Her voice stopped him. Why do you really care? The truth. He thought about lying, about giving some easy answer, but those amber eyes deserved honesty. Because I am tired of being the person who looks away. I am tired of letting bad things happen because it is easier than standing up. And because every person I fail to help when I could makes me a little more like the man I was at Thornridge. I do not want to be that man anymore. Griaza nodded slowly. That is a good reason. It is the only one I have got. Owen smiled. I will see you in a few days. He left her there in the hidden caves, climbing back out into the afternoon sunlight, feeling strangely lighter despite everything. The walk back to his wagon took longer alone, and he arrived as the sun was setting. The wagon looked undisturbed, and he quickly set about hiding it better in the brush before making camp for the night. Over the next 3 days, Owen worked on repairing the wheel and watching for signs of the hunters. He saw them once, a group of 4 men in the Baron's colors riding through the forest with grim determination. He kept still, kept hidden, and they passed without noticing him. Once they were gone, he finished the repair and loaded the wagon. On the 4th day after leaving Griaza, he drove the wagon to a clearing about a mile from the caves and hiked in with fresh supplies. He found her sitting outside the cave entrance in a patch of sunlight, cleaning her axe. She looked up as he approached, and he was struck by how much better she appeared. The pallor was gone, replaced by healthy green skin. Her movements were smooth and confident. She had even cleaned her armor and rebraided her hair. You came back, she said, surprise evident in her voice. Said I would. Owen set down the pack he carried. Brought fresh food, more medical supplies, some other things I thought you might need. How is the wound? Much better. Almost completely healed. She stood, moving with only the slightest stiffness. Your medicine worked well. Good, I am glad. Owen pulled out packages of food, a new waterskin, a warm blanket, even a book. Thought you might be getting bored. Griaza picked up the book, looking at it curiously. I cannot read human writing. Oh, I did not think about that. Owen felt foolish. Sorry, it is fine. The thought was kind. She set it aside. The hunters came yesterday. They were very close, searching the ravine. I stayed silent, and they did not find the entrance. That is good. They will move on soon, expand their search radius. Owen sat down on a fallen log. How are you really doing, not just the wound? Everything. Griaza was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the forest. I do not know how to answer that. Physically, I am healing. Emotionally, she laughed without humor. I am alone in a cave, hiding from humans who want to cage me, exiled from my clan, living on the charity of a stranger. How should I be? Angry, scared, frustrated, Owen offered, all of those, and confused. She looked at him. Confused about why a human soldier who fought at Thornridge is risking himself to help an orc. Confused about what you want from me. I do not want anything from you. Everyone wants something. That is how the world works. Maybe. Owen pulled out some bread and cheese, offering her half. But sometimes people do things just because they are the right things to do. Not everything is a transaction. Griaza took the food but did not eat immediately. In my clan, this would never happen. If I found an injured human, I would be expected to either kill them or leave them. Showing mercy would be seen as betrayal, as weakness. And yet you, who have every reason to hate my kind, show me mercy without hesitation. It makes no sense. Maybe mercy does not need to make sense. Maybe it just needs to be. That is a very human way of thinking. Is it? Owen met her eyes. Because from what you have told me, you were exiled for refusing to raid human settlements. That sounds like mercy to me. That sounds like you chose kindness over cruelty, even knowing it would cost you everything. Griaza looked away, her jaw tight. I was weak. I could not do what needed to be done. Or you were strong enough to choose a different path. Owen leaned forward. Griaza, there is nothing weak about refusing to hurt innocent people. There is nothing weak about choosing compassion. Your clan was wrong to exile you for that. You do not understand. In orc culture, strength is everything. We are warriors, born and bred. To refuse the war path is to refuse what we are. But you did refuse. Why? She was silent for so long that Owen thought she might not answer. Then quietly, because I saw what it turned us into. I saw us becoming the monsters humans said we were. I saw children growing up knowing only hate and violence. I saw us losing ourselves to endless conflict. And I thought, there must be another way. There must be more to being orc than killing and dying. And what happened when you said that? My chieftain called me corrupted. Said I had been poisoned by human weakness. The clan voted and I was cast out, given one day to leave or be killed. Her hands clenched into fists. My own mother would not speak in my defense. My siblings turned their backs. I was family one moment and exile the next. I am sorry, Owen said quietly. That must have been incredibly painful. Pain is part of life. I accepted that. But her voice cracked slightly. What I did not expect was the loneliness. Orcs are communal. We live in clans, fight as clans, exist as part of something larger. Being alone, it is like losing a limb. Worse, because at least a lost limb you can mourn properly. Owen understood that feeling more than she knew. The isolation after leaving the army, the sense of being adrift without the structure and brotherhood of his unit. You are not alone anymore, he said. At least you do not have to be, not completely. Griaza looked at him sharply. What do you mean? I mean I am here. I am your friend if you will have me. I know I am just a human, and I know I am not your clan, but I am here. And I will keep being here as long as you need me to be. Friends. She said the word like it was foreign. Humans and orcs do not become friends. Then we will be the first. She studied him for a long moment, her amber eyes searching his face for deception or hidden motives. Whatever she saw there must have satisfied her because she nodded slowly. Friends. All right, Owen Sawyer. We will try this friendship and see if it holds. Over the following weeks, Owen visited regularly, bringing supplies and news from the outside world. The hunters had moved their search to the western forests, convinced Griaza had fled in that direction. The Baron had posted notices offering clemency to any orcs who turned themselves in willingly, which everyone knew was a lie. The harvest season was approaching and farmers were preparing their fields, but more than supplies and information, Owen brought conversation. They talked about everything and nothing. He told her about his childhood on a farm, his years in the army, his guilt over Thornridge. She told him about orc traditions, the clan structure, the stories and legends of her people. They talked about philosophy and morality, about strength and weakness, about what it meant to be good in a world that often rewarded being bad. Griaza's wound healed completely, and her strength returned. She began exploring the forest around the caves, moving like a shadow, and occasionally brought back game that they cooked together over a carefully concealed fire. Owen showed her how to use human cooking methods, and she taught him orc techniques for preserving meat and identifying edible plants. One evening, as they sat by the fire cooking a rabbit she had caught, Griaza said something that had clearly been building for a while. "I have been thinking about what you said, about kindness not being weakness." And Owen turned the spit, watching fat drip into the flames. "I think maybe you are right. Maybe my clan was wrong about many things." She pulled her knees up to her chest, looking young despite her muscular build and warrior bearing. "But if mercy and kindness are not weakness, then what is strength? What does it mean to be strong if not to be the best fighter, the most feared warrior?" Owen considered this carefully. "I think real strength is doing what is right even when it is hard, standing up for what you believe even when everyone else tells you you are wrong. Choosing to be kind in a cruel world, to hope when everything seems hopeless, to keep going when giving up would be easier. That is strength. Everything else is just force. That is a very different definition than I was taught. Does that make it wrong?" "No," Griaza smiled slightly. "Just different. Strange. But maybe good strange." They ate in comfortable silence, and Owen realized with some surprise that he looked forward to these visits more than anything else in his week. There was something about Griaza's direct honesty, her willingness to question and think deeply about things, that made talking to her a pleasure. She did not just accept what he said but challenged him, made him examine his own beliefs, forced him to be more thoughtful. And she was funny, he discovered. Beneath the warrior exterior and the pain of exile was a sharp wit and a dry sense of humor that caught him off guard and made him laugh more than he had in years. "Tell me about your farm," she said one day as they sat by the stream below the caves, watching water skip over rocks. "Not much to tell. Small place, about 40 acres. I grow wheat mostly, some vegetables, keep a few chickens and goats. It is quiet, simple. Exactly what I wanted after the war." "Do you have family there? A wife?" "No wife. My parents died when I was young. I've got a sister somewhere up north, but we have not spoken in years. It is just me." Owen skipped a stone across the water. "Gets lonely sometimes, but mostly I like the solitude." "Mostly," he glanced at her. "Well, the past few weeks, I have been appreciating company more than I used to." Griaza's cheeks darkened slightly, a flush visible even through her green skin. "I have been appreciating it also. You are not what I expected from a human, from anyone, really." "What did you expect?" "I do not know. Cruelty or indifference, probably, maybe pity, which would be worse. But you just treat me like a person, like someone worth knowing." She looked away, clearly uncomfortable with the emotion in her voice. "It has been nice. You are worth knowing, Griaza. You are smart and brave and thoughtful. Anyone who cannot see that is a fool." Owen said it simply, as a statement of fact, and watched her struggle with how to respond. "You make me feel like maybe I was not wrong. Maybe choosing mercy over mindless violence was the right choice, even if it cost me my clan." She met his eyes. "Thank you for that." They sat there as the sun moved across the sky, talking and not talking, comfortable in each other's presence. Owen was not sure when exactly it had happened, but Griaza had become important to him. Not just someone he was helping, but someone he cared about. Someone he looked forward to seeing. someone whose happiness mattered to him in a way that felt both natural and terrifying. The realization hit him as he was leaving that evening, hiking back toward his wagon through the darkening forest. He cared about Griaza as more than a friend. The thought of not seeing her made his chest tight. The sound of her laugh made him smile for hours afterward. He found himself wondering what she was doing when they were apart, hoping she was happy and safe and not too lonely. Owen stopped walking, standing in the middle of the forest path, and forced himself to confront the truth. He was falling for an orc woman, an exiled warrior who had every reason to hate humans. A person so fundamentally different from him in every way that any feelings he had were completely impossible and ridiculous and doomed. And yet the feelings existed anyway, stubborn and real and growing stronger every day. He should stop visiting. He should bring her enough supplies for several months, wish her well, and leave her to her life while he returned to his. It was the smart thing to do, the safe thing to do, the thing that would not end in heartbreak or worse. Owen started walking again, but he knew even as he told himself to stay away that he would not. He could not. She had become too important. So instead, he would keep visiting and keep these feelings locked away inside where they could not complicate things or make her uncomfortable or ruin the friendship they had built. It was a good plan, solid and reasonable. It lasted approximately 3 more visits before everything went to hell. Owen arrived at the caves one afternoon to find Griaza pacing outside, agitated and angry. Her axe was in her hand, and she spun toward him with wild eyes as he approached. "What is wrong?" he asked immediately. "They found me. The hunters. Well, not me exactly, but they know I am in this area. They are setting up a camp about 2 miles south, planning to do a methodical search of every ravine and cave system." The words tumbled out fast and harsh. "I heard them talking when I was hunting. I got close enough to listen. They will find this place eventually. Maybe in days, maybe in weeks, but they will find it. All right, then we move you." Where else is there to go? This was already the best hiding place. Everything else is more exposed, less defensible. Griaza's hands shook with frustration. "I am tired of running, Owen. I am so tired." I know you are." Owen set down his pack, thinking quickly. What if you did not hide? What if we found a different solution? Like what? Surrender, let them cage me. No, like leave the Baron's territory entirely, go somewhere else, somewhere safer. There is nowhere safer for orcs. Humans control everything now. Griaza sat down heavily on a rock. "This is my life now, running and hiding until they catch me or I die. That is all I have left." "That is not true." Owen crouched in front of her, making her meet his eyes. "Listen to me, I have been thinking about this. My farm, it is right on the edge of the Baron's territory. Actually, technically it is in the Duke's lands, not the Baron's. Different jurisdiction, different laws. The Duke does not have the same policies about orcs. He is not friendly exactly, but he is not actively hunting them either." "So what are you saying?" "I am saying come to my farm. Stay there. The hunters would not look for you on a human's property. You would be hidden in plain sight. And it would not be forever, just until things calm down, until the Baron gives up the search and moves on to other concerns." Griaza stared at him. "You want me to live on your farm, with you?" "Yes, why not? Because it is insane. Because someone would see me or talk or figure it out. Because it puts you at enormous risk." She stood, starting to pace again. "Because I cannot ask you to do that. You are not asking. I am offering." Owen stood as well, blocking her path. "Griaza, I am not going to let you be captured. I am not going to let you keep running yourself ragged. Come to the farm. Be safe. Everything else we can figure out as we go. Why would you risk so much for me? What am I to you that you would put your home, your life, everything at stake?" Her voice broke slightly. "I do not understand you, Owen Sawyer. I have tried, but I cannot figure out why you care so much." This was the moment. The moment where Owen could deflect, make a joke, give a safe answer that would not change anything. But as he looked at Griaza, at this brave, brilliant, beautiful woman who had been through so much and kept going, he found he could not lie. "Because you matter to me," he said quietly. "Because somewhere along the way you stopped being someone I was helping and became someone I care about deeply. Because the thought of something happening to you, of you being hurt or captured or worse, is unbearable. Because I have fallen for you, Griaza. And I know that is probably the worst thing I could say right now, and I know it does not change anything, but it is the truth. You asked why I would risk so much. That is why." The silence that followed felt like it lasted forever. Griaza stood frozen, her eyes wide, her expression cycling through shock and confusion and something else that Owen could not quite read. "You have feelings for me," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "Romantic feelings." "Yes, for an orc. For you specifically." "The orc part is incidental." Owen forced himself to keep meeting her eyes even though every instinct screamed to look away. "Look, I know this is probably unwelcome. I know I have probably just made everything weird and uncomfortable, but you asked for the truth, and that is it. My feelings do not have to change anything. We can still be friends. I will still help you regardless, but I could not lie to you. Not about this." Griaza took a step back, then another, putting space between them. Her hand went to her axe handle, a nervous gesture. "I need to think. I cannot have this conversation right now." "That is fair." Owen picked up his pack, preparing to leave. "I will go. But please, think about coming to the farm. Even if you want nothing to do with me personally, it is still the safest option. You do not have to decide now. I will come back tomorrow and we can talk more." He turned to leave, feeling like he had just destroyed something precious and irreplaceable. Then Griaza's voice stopped him. "Owen." He looked back. She was standing very still, her expression finally settling into something resolved. "I do not know if I have feelings for you. I do not know if orcs and humans can even have feelings for each other in that way. My culture, everything I was taught says this would be impossible, wrong, a betrayal of what I am." She took a breath. "But I know that I look forward to your visits more than anything. I know that you make me laugh, that you make me think, that you make me feel less alone. I know that, when I think about the future, the only version that does not feel hollow is one where you are in it somehow." Owen's heart was pounding so hard he was surprised she could not hear it. "So I do not know what I feel," Griaza continued. "But I know it is something important. And I am willing to figure out what that something is, if you are willing to be patient with me while I do." "I can be patient," Owen said, his voice rough with emotion. "Good." A small smile crossed her face. "Then yes, I will come to your farm. We will try this insane plan of yours and see if it works, and we will figure out whatever this is between us, together." "Together," Owen agreed. "When do you want to leave? Tomorrow? If they are setting up camp, we do not have much time. The sooner I am away from here, the better." Griaza looked around the caves that had been her home for weeks. "I will miss this place. We can always come back, once things are safe." Owen moved closer cautiously. "Thank you for trusting me, for being willing to try. You have given me no reason not to trust you. Even when it would have been easier to walk away, you stayed. You kept coming back. That means something." She met his eyes, and the warmth in her gaze made his breath catch. "You mean something. To me. I am still figuring out exactly what, but something important." They spent the rest of the evening packing up the supplies from the caves, preparing for the journey to Owen's farm. They would leave at dawn, traveling quickly through the forest before the hunters expanded their search. It was risky, but no riskier than staying. That night, They made camp in one of the inner chambers, and Owen found himself watching Griaza as she prepared her gear with military efficiency. She had changed so much since that first day when she had watched him from the tree line, all aggression and suspicion. She was still a warrior, still strong and capable, but there was a softness to her now that had not been there before. A willingness to be vulnerable, to be open, to trust. And he had changed too, he realized. The isolation he had wrapped himself in after leaving the army had been pierced. He had let someone in, let himself care, and it was both terrifying and wonderful. "What are you thinking about?" Griaza asked, noticing his gaze. "About how different things are from a few weeks ago, about how strange it is that we are here, about to embark on this ridiculous plan." Owen smiled. "About how I am glad I offered you that water skin. I am glad too." Griaza settled against the cave wall, her axe beside her. "Owen, about what you said earlier, about having feelings for me. I need you to know that even if I do not, even if I cannot return them, it does not make them worthless. It does not make what you feel wrong or foolish. I know, but thank you for saying it. I do not want you to think I am using your feelings against you, that I am accepting your help because of what you feel rather than because I trust you." She looked uncomfortable, struggling with the words. "This is hard. I am not good at this kind of conversation. We are learning together." Owen pulled out his bedroll. "Get some rest. We have got a long walk tomorrow." They slept in the same chamber for the first time, separated by the fire between them, and Owen lay awake for a long time listening to Griaza breathe. Tomorrow everything would change again. Tomorrow they would be taking a huge risk, potentially putting them both in danger. But as he finally drifted off to sleep, Owen felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. They left at dawn, moving quickly through the forest. Owen led them on a circuitous route that avoided obvious paths, using every bit of woodcraft he had learned in the army. They saw no signs of the hunters, but they remained cautious, quiet, alert. It took most of the day to reach Owen's farm. They approached from the north, through a section of woods that bordered his property. As the trees thinned and the first fields came into view, Owen paused. "That is home," he said simply. Griaza studied the farm with keen eyes. It was modest but well-maintained. A small wooden house with a stone chimney, a barn that looked newly repaired, fields of wheat golden in the late afternoon sun, a chicken coop and a pen with goats. Simple, clean, peaceful. "It is nice," she said. "Smaller than I expected. I do not need much. Just enough to keep myself fed and occupied." Owen started forward again. "The barn has a loft with a good window and a door that locks from the inside. I thought you might stay there, at least at first. If anyone comes by, you can hide. The view from the loft lets you see anyone approaching from any direction. You have thought this through. I have had a few weeks to plan." Owen led her to the barn, showing her the space he had prepared. The loft was surprisingly comfortable, with clean hay blankets, a lamp, and even some books. "I know it is not much, but it is safe and warm and private." Griaza climbed up to the loft, looking around with an unreadable expression. "This is more than I have had in a long time. Thank you. There is a well behind the barn if you need water. I will bring meals to you until we figure out a better system. And if anyone comes, there is a hiding spot behind those hay bales that should work." Owen pointed out various features, practical and focused. "Does this work for you?" "It works." Griaza set down her pack and weapons. "Owen, I know I have said it before, but thank you for all of this, for risking so much." "You do not have to keep thanking me." Owen smiled. "We are friends. This is what friends do. Is that all we are, friends?" The question was quiet, almost shy, and it made Owen's heart race. "I do not know. What do you want us to be?" Griaza came to the edge of the loft, looking down at him. I want us to be honest with each other. I want us to figure this out together without pressure or expectations. I want to see if what I feel is what I think it might be, and if it is, I want to see if we can make something work despite everything that says we should not. I can do that. All of that. Owen felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, exhilarated and terrified. Take whatever time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Good. Griaza's smile was soft, genuine. Now you mentioned meals, I am starving. They ate dinner together in the barn, simple food but plentiful, and talked about plans for the coming days. Owen would maintain his normal routine, going into town for supplies, working his fields, acting as if nothing had changed. Griaza would stay hidden, at least until they were sure no one had followed them and that the hunters were focused elsewhere. It was not perfect. It was risky and complicated and could blow up in their faces at any moment. But sitting there in the barn with Griaza as the sun set and painted everything gold, Owen felt more content than he had in years. The first week was tense. Every sound made them both jump. Every visitor, a merchant who stopped by to discuss wheat prices, made Griaza hide in the secret space behind the hay. But no hunters came. No one seemed to suspect anything. Slowly, they began to relax. Griaza spent her days doing small repairs around the farm, careful to stay out of sight of the road. She fixed a broken fence, reinforced the chicken coop against foxes, and even helped Owen with the harvest, working in fields that were not visible from the main path. She was a quick learner and surprisingly skilled with her hands, able to figure out tasks that Owen struggled to explain. They fell into a rhythm, a routine that felt comfortable and domestic. Breakfast together in the barn before Owen went to work. Lunch shared in the fields when no one was around. Dinner together again, talking about their days, their pasts, their hopes. And slowly, carefully, the relationship between them deepened. It started with small things, sitting closer together when they talked, touches that lingered a moment longer than necessary, glances that held weight and meaning. Then one evening, as they sat watching the stars from the barn loft, Griaza reached out and took Owen's hand. "Is this all right?" she asked quietly. "Yes, more than all right." Owen intertwined his fingers with hers, marveling at how natural it felt. Her hand was larger than his, calloused and strong, but her grip was gentle. "I have been thinking about what you said, about having feelings for me." Griaza stared at the sky, but her thumb traced patterns on the back of his hand. "I think I understand now. I think I feel the same way." Owen's breath caught. "You do?" "Yes. I do not know when it happened exactly. Maybe it was gradual, or maybe it was all at once and I was just too stubborn to admit it. But I care about you, Owen, more than I have ever cared about anyone. You make me happy. You make me feel safe. You make me think that maybe I could have a life that is more than just surviving." She turned to look at him, her amber eyes bright in the starlight. "I think I might be falling in love with you, and it terrifies me, but it also feels right. Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense." Owen lifted her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles softly. "I love you, Griaza. I think I have for a while now. I love your strength and your courage and your kindness. I love how you challenge me and make me think. I love that you refuse to become what your clan wanted you to be. I love that you are here, that you trusted me enough to come here. I love you." Griaza made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "This is insane. We should not work. Everything about this is wrong according to every rule both our cultures have. I know. People will hate us for this. Your people, my people, everyone. I know. We could lose everything. You could lose your farm, your livelihood, your place in society. I could be hunted even more relentlessly. We are risking so much for something that might not even work." She was crying now, tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling too. But I do not care, I want to try anyway. I want to be with you and see if we can build something good together despite everything. Then let's try. Owen reached up, wiping away her tears with his thumb. Let's be together and face whatever comes, together. Griaza leaned forward and Owen met her halfway. The kiss was gentle, tentative, both of them learning what the other needed. Her tusks brushed his cheeks, strange and new but not unpleasant. Her lips were soft, her breath warm, and when she pulled back, she was smiling in a way he had never seen before, open and joyful and free. I love you, she said, testing the words. I love you, Owen Sawyer. I love you too, Griaza. He pulled her close, and she settled against him, her head on his shoulder. They sat like that for hours, wrapped in each other, watching the stars wheel overhead and talking about everything and nothing. The next few weeks were possibly the happiest of Owen's life. They kept their relationship secret, of course, but within the boundaries of the farm they could be themselves. They worked together, ate together, spent evenings talking and laughing and learning about each other. Griaza taught Owen some of her language, and he taught her to read human writing. She showed him orc fighting techniques, and he showed her how to bake bread. They were building a life together, piece by piece, and it felt both fragile and precious, but of course, it could not last undisturbed forever. Owen was in town buying supplies when he heard the news. The Baron was expanding his search. He had brought in trackers from the capital, experts in hunting orcs. They had found the cave system, found evidence that someone had been living there, and were now searching every farm and homestead within a 20-mile radius. Owen bought his supplies as calmly as he could, acting unconcerned, then rode his wagon home as fast as he dared without drawing attention. He found Griaza in the barn, immediately seeing the tension in his face. What happened? He told her everything. She listened without interruption, her expression growing grimmer with each word. They will come here, she said when he finished. They will search everywhere, I know. But your presence is not obvious. The loft looks like storage. Your things are hidden. As long as you stay completely silent when they are here, we might be all right. And if we are not, if they find me, Griaza's hand went to her axe. They will not take me alive, Owen. I will fight. And if I fight here on your farm, it will destroy everything you have built. Then we will make sure they do not find you. Owen took her hands, making her look at him. I am not letting them take you. We will get through this like we have gotten through everything else, together. The hunters arrived 3 days later. 4 men in the Baron's colors, well armed and professional. Owen met them at the gate, playing the role of concerned citizen. Good morning, gentlemen. What can I do for you? The leader, a hard-eyed man with a scar across his cheek, dismounted. We are conducting searches for a fugitive orc. Dangerous, wanted for crimes against the Baron. We have authorization to search all properties in this region. Of course. I heard there was some trouble. Feel free to look around. I have got nothing to hide. Owen kept his voice calm, cooperative. The house is open, barn too. Anything you need. They searched methodically and thoroughly. Owen followed them, answering questions, staying relaxed. His heart pounded when they entered the barn, climbed up to the loft, but they saw only hay and storage. Griaza was in her hiding place, completely still, barely breathing. After an hour, they seemed satisfied. Thank you for your cooperation, the leader said. If you see anything suspicious, an orc in the area, you report it immediately. There is a reward for information leading to capture. Of course, I will keep my eyes open. Owen walked them to the gate, waving as they rode off. He waited a full 2 hours before going to the barn and giving the all-clear. Griaza emerged from her hiding spot, shaking slightly. That was too close, she said, but it worked. They did not find you. Owen pulled her into his arms, feeling her heart racing against his chest. You are safe. For now, but they will keep searching. They will keep coming back. Owen, I cannot keep putting you at risk like this. She pulled back to look at him. Maybe I should leave. Go somewhere else, somewhere far from here. No. The word came out harsh, almost angry. No, we are not giving up. We are not letting them win. You belong here with me, and I am not letting you go. But no buts. We will figure this out. Maybe we need to find a more permanent solution, something that makes your presence here legitimate. But we are not separating. I refuse to lose you. Owen cupped her face in his hands. I love you. You love me. That is what matters. Everything else we can handle. Griaza leaned into his touch, her eyes closing. I do not deserve you. Pretty sure it is the other way around, but we can argue about that later. Owen kissed her forehead. Right now, we need to think. There has to be a way to make this work. They spent the evening strategizing, trying to come up with ideas. The problem was fundamental. As long as the Baron was hunting orcs, as long as Griaza was technically a fugitive, she would never be truly safe. They needed to change her status somehow, make her presence legal and protected. What if you claimed I was a servant? Griaza suggested. Some humans have orc servants, right? Usually captured ones, enslaved. That would make your status even worse, not better. Owen shook his head. No, we need something that gives you autonomy, protects you from being claimed as property. They talked in circles for hours, each idea shot down for one reason or another. Finally, as the night grew late, Owen said something half as a joke that made them both freeze. What if we got married? Griaza stared at him. What? Marriage? It is a legal contract, right? If we were married, you would have legal protections as my spouse. The Baron could not just seize you without cause, not without starting a legal battle with the Duke's courts. Owen was thinking out loud now, the idea gaining traction. It would be complicated, maybe even impossible to actually get approved, but it might work. Humans and orcs can marry. That is allowed. I do not actually know. I have never heard of it happening, but I do not know if it is explicitly forbidden either. Laws about orcs are weird, vary by region. We would have to check with someone who knows. Owen looked at her. I mean, obviously this is not the most romantic proposal. I am thinking strategically here, not saying we should get married just for legal protection. But you would marry me, if it helped. Griaza's voice was soft, uncertain. I would marry you anyway, legal protection or not. I love you. I want to build a life with you. If marriage makes that life possible, then yes, I would marry you in a heartbeat. Owen took her hands. But that is a huge decision, and I do not want you to feel pressured. We are just exploring options. I know. But Owen, if we could marry, if that was possible, I would want to, not just for protection, because I love you. Because I want to be yours and I want you to be mine in every way that matters. She smiled, tentative but genuine. So yes, if it is possible, if we can make it work, then yes, I will marry you. Owen felt like his heart might burst. Are you sure? This is not some romantic proposal. There is no ring. I am not even on one knee, I am sure. Griaza pulled him close, kissing him softly. You have given me everything, Owen. Hope, safety, love, a home. Let me give you something back. Let me be your wife if the world will allow it. Then we will make the world allow it. Owen kissed her back, fierce and full of promise. We will find a way. I swear we will. The next day, Owen rode into town to consult with the village clerk, a scholarly man named Thomas who knew more about law than anyone else in the region. Owen had to be careful, frame his questions as hypothetical academic interest rather than immediate need. Theoretically, Owen asked, sitting in Thomas's cramped office, could a human legally marry an orc? Thomas raised his eyebrows. That is an unusual question. May I ask why you want to know? Just curious. I heard about interspecies marriages in other countries and wondered if it was possible here. Well, legally speaking, the laws do not explicitly forbid it. Orcs are considered sentient beings capable of contracts and agreements. Marriage is a legal contract. Therefore, theoretically, yes, it could be done. Thomas pulled out several thick books, flipping through them. However, the cultural obstacles would be immense. I know of no priest or official who would be willing to perform such a ceremony. And even if you found one, the marriage would likely be challenged legally by anyone who disapproved. But if it was properly witnessed and recorded, it would be legally binding. According to the letter of the law, yes. But Owen, why are you really asking this? Thomas looked at him shrewdly. You have got an orc on your property, do you not? Owen's blood went cold. What makes you say that? Because I have known you for 3 years, and I have never seen you care about abstract legal questions. And because I noticed you bought twice the normal amount of food supplies recently. And because you are asking about interspecies marriage with the desperation of a man who needs it to be possible, not just curious if it is. Thomas leaned back in his chair. I am not going to report you. I think the Baron's hunt is cruel and unjust, but I want the truth. Owen weighed his options, then decided on honesty. Yes, there is an orc woman living on my farm. She was exiled from her clan for refusing to raid human settlements. The Baron's hunters were trying to capture her. I gave her shelter, and I fell in love with her. He met Thomas's eyes. I want to marry her both because I love her and because it might protect her legally. Can you help us? Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed. You are asking me to risk a great deal. I know, and I understand if you cannot. I did not say I would not help. I said it is risky. Thomas stood, moving to a locked cabinet and pulling out more books. If you are serious about this, truly serious, then I will do what I can. The law is on your side, barely. But you will need witnesses, proper documentation, and an official willing to perform the ceremony. That is where it gets complicated. What if you performed it? You are a licensed clerk, authorized to oversee legal contracts. Marriage ceremonies are traditionally performed by priests. But legally, they do not have to be. A clerk can officiate if no religious official is available or willing. Owen leaned forward. Thomas, please. You said yourself the Baron's hunt is unjust. Help us fight it the legal way. Thomas studied him for a long time. Then slowly he nodded. All right, I will do it. But we need to be smart about this. We need witnesses who will not talk, who can be trusted. And we need to register the marriage in the Duke's records, not the Baron's, to keep it out of local politics as long as possible. I can find witnesses. When can we do this? Give me 3 days to prepare the proper documents and make arrangements. Bring her here at night, when fewer people are around. We will do this quietly and legally, and pray that it is enough to protect you both. Owen returned to the farm feeling both hopeful and terrified. He told Griaza everything, and they held each other, marveling at how quickly their lives were changing. In 3 days we will be married, Griaza said wonderingly. Bonded in the human way, it still does not seem real. Are you sure about this? Really sure? Because once we do this, there is no going back. Everyone will know. We will be declaring to the world that we choose each other over everything else. I am sure. Griaza kissed him softly. I have never been more sure of anything. I love you, Owen Sawyer. I want to be your wife. I want to face whatever comes next with you at my side. Then let's do it. Let's get married and dare anyone to tear us apart. The 3 days passed in a blur of preparation and nervous anticipation. Owen found witnesses, 2 neighbors who owed him favors and were willing to keep secrets. He bought simple rings from a traveling merchant. Griaza fashioned a necklace from leather and small carved stones in the orc tradition of marriage bonds. On the night of the ceremony, they traveled to town under cover of darkness. Thomas was waiting in his office, the documents prepared. The two witnesses arrived shortly after, looking nervous but determined. "Are you both here of your own free will?" Thomas asked formally. "Do you enter this marriage without coercion, with full understanding of the commitment you are making?" "I do," Owen said. "I do," Griaza echoed, her voice steady despite the slight trembling of her hands. Thomas led them through the ceremony, a simplified version that focused on the legal aspects rather than religious ones. They exchanged vows, promising to honor and support each other, to face hardships together, to build a life of mutual respect and love. They exchanged rings and the necklace, symbols of their bond. "By the authority vested in me by the Duke's law, I declare you married. May your union be strong and your lives be full." Thomas signed the documents, then had the witnesses sign as well. "Congratulations! You are now husband and wife." Owen pulled Griaza into his arms, kissing her as a married man kissing his wife, and felt something settle in his chest. This was right. This was real. Whatever happened next, they would face it together, bound by law and love and unshakable commitment. They left Thomas's office as the sun was rising, returning to the farm with their marriage certificate carefully protected. They were giddy with joy and relief, holding hands like young lovers talking about their future. "We should celebrate," Owen said. "Have a proper wedding feast, just the two of us. I would like that." Griaza looked at him with such love and happiness that it took his breath away. "My husband. I am going to enjoy saying that. And I am going to enjoy hearing it, my wife." They spent the day preparing a feast, cooking together, laughing and stealing kisses between tasks. That evening they ate under the stars, toasting their marriage with wine and talking about dreams for the future. A real life together, open and unafraid. Maybe children someday, if such a thing was even possible between human and orc. A farm that was truly theirs, a home filled with love. It was perfect. It was everything Owen had never dared to hope for. And then, 2 weeks later, the hunters came back. This time there were more of them, led by the Baron himself. They arrived in force, surrounding the farm before Owen even knew they were there. He was in the barn with Griaza when he heard the shouts, saw the armed men forming a perimeter. "Stay hidden," he told her urgently. "No matter what happens, stay hidden." But Griaza's hand was on his arm, her grip tight. "If they search again, they will be more thorough, they will find me. And if they find me, they will arrest you for harboring a fugitive. I will not let that happen. Griaza, no, I love you, trust me." She kissed him hard, then straightened her shoulders and walked out of the barn into full view of the assembled hunters. Owen's heart stopped. He ran after her, emerging into the morning light to find Griaza standing proud and defiant, facing the Baron and his men without fear. "So it is true," the Baron said, a cruel smile on his face. "The rumors said Owen Sawyer was hiding an orc. I confess, I did not want to believe one of my former soldiers would betray his own kind so thoroughly." "I have betrayed nothing," Owen said, moving to stand beside Griaza. "And she is not hiding. She lives here legally." "Legally? An orc living on human lands," the Baron laughed. "There is no legal path for that. There is if that orc is my wife." Owen pulled out the marriage certificate, holding it up. "We were married 2 weeks ago, properly witnessed and recorded. Griaza is not a fugitive. She is my spouse with all the legal protections that entails." The Baron's face darkened. "This is a forgery. Humans and orcs cannot marry." "Actually, they can. There is no law forbidding it." Owen's voice was steady, drawing on every bit of courage he had. "This marriage was performed by a licensed clerk, witnessed and documented. It has been registered with the Duke's courts. It is completely legal." "The Duke's courts? You went over my head." The Baron's hand went to his sword. "This is my territory. Technically, this farm sits on the border. It falls under the Duke's jurisdiction, not yours." Owen held his ground, though his heart was racing. "You have no authority here, and you certainly have no authority to seize my wife." The Baron stared at the certificate, at Owen and Griaza standing together, and his expression twisted with rage. "You dare! I dare to love someone and protect her. I dare to follow the law, even when it is inconvenient for you. I dare to stand up to a tyrant who hunts innocent people for sport." Owen's voice grew stronger. "You have no legal grounds to take her, and if you try, I will fight you in every court in the land. The Duke will hear about your hunt, about the orcs you have caged and enslaved. Do you really want that scrutiny?" For a long moment, the Baron looked like he might attack anyway, law be damned. Then one of his lieutenants leaned in, whispering urgently. The Baron's face went through several expressions before settling on cold fury. "This is not over," he said finally. "Your marriage may be legal, but that does not mean it will be accepted. You have made powerful enemies today, Sawyer. I will take that risk." Owen put his arm around Griaza. "Now get off my property." The Baron left, taking his hunters with him, but the threat hung in the air like smoke. As soon as they were gone, Owen's legs nearly gave out. Griaza caught him, holding him steady. "That was incredibly brave and incredibly stupid," she said, but she was smiling through tears. "That is pretty much my approach to everything lately." Owen laughed shakily. "We did it. We actually did it. We did. But he was right. This is not over. People will come, challenge us, make our lives difficult. Let them. We are married, legally bound, and we have each other. That is all we need." Owen cupped her face, looking into her amber eyes. "I meant what I said. I will fight for you, for us, in every court and every battlefield if I have to. You are my wife, and no one is taking you from me. And you are my husband, my mate, my partner in this crazy, impossible life we are building." Griaza kissed him softly. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." In the weeks that followed, life was not easy. Some neighbors refused to speak to them. The local priest gave a sermon condemning interspecies marriage. There were threats, vandalism, people who made their disapproval clear. But there were also surprises. Some people, like Thomas, quietly supported them. A few neighbors continued to trade and socialize, willing to see past prejudice. And word of their marriage spread, reaching other mixed couples who had been hiding, giving them hope that they too could live openly. Owen and Griaza worked their farm together, building a life that was uniquely theirs. They faced each challenge as it came, sometimes struggling but always together. Griaza's strength and Owen's stubbornness proved to be a formidable combination. They learned and grew and adapted, creating something new from the combination of their cultures. One evening, several months after their marriage, they sat on the porch watching the sunset. Griaza's hand rested on her stomach, and Owen covered it with his own, both of them marveling at the life growing there. Against all odds, they were going to be parents. "You ever regret it?" Griaza asked quietly. "All the hardship, the judgment, the difficulty?" "Never." Owen kissed her temple. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me. This life we are building, it is exactly what I want. Hard as it is, I would not trade it for anything. Good, because you are stuck with me now." Griaza leaned into him, content and safe. "Thank you, Owen, for seeing past what I was supposed to be and loving who I actually am. For choosing kindness when cruelty would have been easier. For not breaking when I tested you. Thank you for giving me a chance. For trusting me despite every reason not to. For building this life with me." Owen wrapped his arm around her, holding his wife close. "I love you, Griaza Sawyer. I love you too, Owen Sawyer." They sat there as the sun painted the sky in colors too beautiful to name, two souls who had found each other against impossible odds. They had faced hunters and prejudice and fear. They had risked everything for love, and they had won, not by force but by refusing to accept that their love was wrong. The world around them was still complicated and often cruel. There would be more challenges ahead, more battles to fight, more obstacles to overcome. But they would face them together, husband and wife, human and orc, two people who had chosen each other when the world said they should not. And in that choice, in that defiant act of love, they had built something stronger than any weapon, more enduring than any prejudice. They had built a home, a family, a future. They had built hope. Years later, when people asked about how they got together, Owen always told the same story. About an orc woman who tested a human man, expecting him to break like all the others. About a man who chose kindness over fear, love over hate, possibility over prejudice. About two people who refused to let the world dictate who they could love, who built a life together one brave choice at a time. And he always ended the story the same way, with Griaza laughing beside him, their children playing in the fields behind their farm, the life they built together stretching out before them full of promise and joy. "She tested me," Owen would say, taking Griaza's hand. "She tested me to see if I would break, if my kindness was real or just another kind of weakness. And I did not break, because loving her, protecting her, building a life with her, that was never weakness. That was the strongest thing I ever did." And Griaza would smile, that fierce and beautiful smile that had captured his heart from the beginning, and add, "And I tested him because I had to know if his heart matched his words, if his kindness would hold when faced with difficulty and danger. And when he passed every test without hesitation, when he chose me over safety and comfort and ease, I knew I had found something rare and precious. I had found a man worth loving for the rest of my life." Their story spread throughout the region and beyond, a tale that gave hope to others who loved across cultural and racial lines. It did not fix everything. Prejudice still existed, laws were still unjust, there was still work to be done. But Owen and Griaza's marriage stood as proof that change was possible, that love could bridge even the widest divides. They grew old together on that farm, their children growing up to be strong and kind, carrying forward the lessons of acceptance and courage their parents had taught. And every evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in gold, Owen and Griaza would sit together on their porch, hands intertwined, and marvel at the life they had built from a single act of kindness that had blossomed into forever. The orc girl had tested him, expecting him to break like all the others before him. But Owen Sawyer did not break. He bent, he adapted, he grew, but he never broke. And in his unbreakable kindness, Griaza found the home she had been searching for all her life. Together they proved that the strongest foundation for any relationship was not power or force, but simple, stubborn, unshakable love. And they lived happily, fully, completely for all the days of their lives. Together.